नमस्कार दोस्तों, मैं कृष्ण कुमार गुप्ता, रिटायर्ड साइंटिस्ट सी, सेंट्रल वाटर एंड पावर स्टेशन पुणे से आपके सामने प्रस्तुत हूँ। नेशनल वाटर एकेडमी द्वारा आयोजित वर्चुअल ट्रेनिंग में आज हम आपसे बात करेंगे कंडक्ट रूल्स के बारे में। सभी सरकारी अधिकारियों पर यह लागू होता है। क्या क्या पॉइंट्स हैं, क्या क्या चीज़ें होती हैं, इन सब की एक विस्तृत चर्चा आपसे इस व्याख्यान में हम करेंगे। चलिए हम आगे बढ़ते हैं। कंडक्ट रूल्स। कंडक्ट रूल्स क्या हैं और क्यों हैं? जब आप सर्विस ज्वाइन करते हो तो देर इज सम बिहेवियर एक्सपेक्टेड फ्रॉम यू, सम responsibility is expected from you. So how should be your conduct? These rules are regarding that only. So there are 32 rules at present, and CCS Conduct Rule 1964 is effective from 30th November 1964. What are the elements of conduct rules? Basics of conduct rules. Three elements are there: achar, vichar, and vyavhar. How you will be working, how are your thoughts, and how you will behave. This forms the platform or basic of the conduct rules. See, there are 5 pointers of conduct rules. And how conduct rule is formed? Taking these 5 points into consideration, that what government expects from you. Integrity, very important. Honesty, dedication, efficiency, service to people. These are the things which are expected from any government servant. He will be dedicated, he will honestly work, efficiently he will work, and he will serve to the people with full devotion to the government of India. Work culture. What is work culture? When you are working, there should be of some culture. So I'll tell you the fundamentals of work culture. First is integrity. This is very important part. Because unless your integrity is not there with the organization, with the system, or with the government, there is no use of working in that system. Even in your APAR column, this is a column is there, integrity. If you're suppose you are excellent in everything, but you did something and your boss writes integrity doubtful, so all your promotion prospects and everything is at stake. Discipline, it's a common sense for a common people, for a ordinary citizen also, same way for government. This also we should be well disciplined. Punctuality, right from childhood we are told about this. सेम वे गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस में नॉर्मली चलता है, हम लेट गए तो भी चलता है. दिस एटीट्यूड शुड नॉट बी देयर. यू शुड बी पंक्चुअल इन कमिंग एंड लीविंग द ऑफिस. Sense of responsibilities. This is very important. When you are assigned some duty, immediately when you hold some position, when you hold some post, responsibility is attached with that. Accountability. Whatever you do, you are accountable. Nobody else is accountable for what you are doing it. So your accountability is must. The last is professional competence. It is what you call a soul of the system. If government servant doesn't have a competence, then what is the use in being in service? So for what purpose you have been there, in which department you are working, whatever you are doing, you should be professional, competent with that. Contents of conduct rules I have just tried to show in two or three slides. What are the topics I am going to cover? Commencement, definitions, general, promptness, courtesy, observance of government's policies, prohibition of sexual harassment of working women, employment of near relatives in companies, taking part in politics and elections, joining of associations by government servant, demonstration and strikes, criticism of government, evidence before. What are the rules regarding all these things? It has been described in different slides under different heads. Communication, gifts, dowry, private trade, subletting and vacation of government accommodation, investment, insolvency, movable, immovable property, restrictions in relation to acquisition and disposal of immovable property, vindication of acts, conveying of non-official or other outside influence, restriction regarding marriage, consumption of intoxicating drinks, interpretation, delegation of powers, repeal and saving. Duties of a government servant. This is very controversial. Normally people say, I serve only 8 hours to the government. Agreed. So 8 hours is your working hours. But practically whole time of government servant is at the disposal of government. It doesn't mean that you have to work 24 hours, but whatever time government requires, they can deploy you. He may be employed in any manner required by proper authority. Suppose you are posted in office and you are supposed to do some job in the night time, you have to do it. Government servant has no right to claim any additional remuneration. So many times it happens that as a government servant has been given additional charges in addition to his own duties. So you will not get any remuneration of that. You cannot claim that. Now question comes on whom it is applicable and on whom this CCS rules doesn't apply. As its names indicate, CCS rules, Central Civil Services, and commonly known as the conduct rules, because for civil services. So applicable is civil employees including defense civilians. All civil employees and all the civilians, even in defense services they are there. This applies to them. PSU employees like banks, petrol companies, personal staff now appointed by minister. Under Rule 15, whatever minister when apply the personal staff, it applies on that also. Non-statutory canteen employees. And your departmental canteens, your office is having the canteen departmental, and if departmental recruitment is there, so all the staff is covered under CCS rules. Not applicable to, as I told you, defense it is not applicable except for civilians, railway employees, members of All India services, non-official members of committee and commission, because they have their own set of rules. They have not bind by the, as per nature of duties, their duty is different, their expectations are different. So different set of rules has been framed for them. So only civilian employees, even from defense, PSU employees are covered under this. Now definition wise, as I told you in the list, family. The first thing comes as a family. What comprises of a family? The wife, husband, and then divorced spouse not included in family. See, suppose husband divorced the wife and wife or wife divorced the husband, then husband or wife accordingly will not be included in the family. Dependent children including stepchildren. Any government servant, suppose he is having stepchildren also, but they are dependent, they will be a part of family. Any other person related by blood or marriage to the government servant or to his wife, husband, and wholly depend on him. Means your mother, father, even brother, sister, if they are totally dependent on you, they will be a part of family for under Rule 2C, 1, 2, 3. Of course, procedure is there that you have to give declaration every year for that. Expectation from civil servant. You get your salary, you are appointed, but government also expects something from you. So what are the common things? Maintain absolute integrity. Yes. You are only, what we call it, responsible to government. You are answerable to government only. And your full integrity should be with government of India. Maintain devotion to duty. Yes, we have to work with devotion. Do nothing which is unbecoming of a government servant. This is very common, and all legal cases and all the things, whenever you are found guilty, ultimately a sentence comes that he is he has become unbecoming of a government servant, or like this. Uphold the supremacy of constitution and democratic values. You have to follow the constitution, defend and uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India. Yes, that is a country. It is a first priority for you. Security of the state, public order, as per your posting. Because what these are included, everybody is not this one. Suppose some security staff is there, so they are responsible for security. And public order may, suppose public concerns, office mein they are there, so they are responsible for the public service. High ethical standards and honesty. This is a basic moral also. It is not only rules, but rules include your moral lessons also, whatever we have been taught right from our childhood. So we should have ethical standards, we should have, be honest. Political neutrality. No government servant is expected to be attached from any political party. Promote principles of merit, fairness, and impartiality in discharge of duties. Your decision should be purely on merit, not on seeing who is benefited, whether I am getting something or whether my relative is getting benefited. No, it is a purely merit based decisions. Accountability and transparency, very important. Yes, whatever you do, it is you are accountable for that. And nowadays RTI is there, you know, anybody anything can be asked, so it should be very transparent manner may you should do. Responsiveness to public, particularly to weaker section. This is a very important part. Even in your APR, there is a column of how you behave with the weaker section. So, very courteously, very politely, you should behave with them, listen to them, try to solve their problem. Maintain courtesy and good behavior with public. Again, ethical sense है basically. Here called rule, but this is a ethical sense. We should be courteous and we should behave in a good way with the public. Take decisions solely in public interest. Your decision should be in public interest, not in your vested interest or your friend's vested interest or your relatives' vested interest. Use public resource efficiently, effectively, and economically. As you spend your own money, same way, whatever resources are made available to you, don't misuse that. Try to use very meticulously all this one. Declare any private interest relating to his public duties and take steps to resolve any conflicts in a way to protect public interest. Suppose you are in an office, in some other office you are dealing with, some relative is there. Normally there is a column whether that relative is there or not. So you have to declare it very clearly. But you should work in a public interest. Don't place yourself under any financial or other obligations. Suppose you accept something from somebody, so he has done obligation, then you are bound to do some wrong things for him. So don't do that. Don't misuse his position and take decision to have financial benefits for himself. Again, no vested interest, personal interest, and it is always told use your position, don't misuse your position, and use it for the public interest. Take decisions choice on merit alone. Act with fairness and impartiality and not discriminate anybody in any way, either caste, creed, no discrimination. Refrain from anything contrary to law, rules, regulations, and established practices. Well said, as I told you, Conduct Rules 1964 has established practices. You know your rules are there, regulations are there. You have to follow that. Don't do anything for which you will be responsible and ultimately you may be punished also. Discipline and implement lawful orders communicated to you. All the orders, government orders, what come time to time, you have to follow it. Confidentiality as is required by any laws, particularly information disclosure which prejudicially affects sovereignty and integrity. You are a government servant, may not be serving 24 hours in that or continuous, but sometimes you may be given additional charges of some such post which requires confidentiality. You should maintain that. Perform and discharge duties with highest degree of professionalism and dedication to the best of your abilities. Rule 3 as amended by Office Memorandum 10th December 2014. That you have to discharge your duties with full dedication, full honesty, and to the best of your effort. You should put your best efforts in completing the task. Another point comes headquarter leaving. This is very important. Normally we don't take it serious. We apply for the leave and we go or somewhere. Even sometimes we leave the headquarter without informing. This is an offense which will cover under misconduct. Permission is required to leave headquarter even during the leave in India and abroad. Suppose, because normally it is a transferable job, so from home you are away. So whenever you want to apply leave for going home, it doesn't mean that government knows it and automatically no. But it's still a formal sentence of permission to leave headquarter is necessary. If government servant is intimated through his leave application his intention to leave headquarter, and if leave sanction, no separate permission is required. Suppose you are going your hometown and all this one. In your application, suppose you write a sentence that I may please be permitted to leave the headquarter. That itself is sufficient. No separate permission is required. The leave sanction authority should take prior approval from competent authority in case of visiting abroad. But suppose you are visiting on tourist visa, going to roam somewhere in foreign country, or even going to official function, officially abroad. So you have to take leave approval, and for leave particularly, your office head cannot sanction it. That leave has to be sanctioned by the ministry whenever you leave for abroad. GS should apply for permission in specified format. There is a format for that. As for other formats, now everything is formatted. So you should apply for the vigilance clearance is also required if you are leaving abroad. Now I will tell you what is misconduct. What is not supposed to be done by a government servant is a misconduct. How it covers, how it is further we will tell. So it is impossible to enumerate all misconducts in service or outside of service. Very clearly, you cannot make a charter of that, you cannot make a list of that. This is only part which is misconduct. No. A discrete of an essential condition of contract of service. A disregard of an essential condition means it is a condition of a contract that you will not be misconducting anywhere. Acts unworthy of the office held by the officer, even such act did not relate to his official duties. You are supposed to do official duty, but if you do unofficial duties, it becomes a misconduct. And whatever you are not supposed to do by holding the post, it is misconduct. Conduct which is blameworthy for the government servant. Suppose you do some act by which you can be blamed. This is also misconduct. Acts prejudicial to the interest of master. Means any work which you do which are not in interest of the government of India or in public interest, this is a misconduct. If a GS government servant conducts in a way inconsistent with due and faithful discharge of his duties, suppose you are not discharging your duties faithfully and very dedicatedly and as you are supposed to do, it is a misconduct. Abusing one's power or position, you are in some powerful position, what we call it, in higher positions, and you can give benefit to others. If you are abusing that, it is a misconduct. Indiscipline, sheer misconduct. Acts which affect the fiber of moral turpitude. Morality has to be there. Immorality is a misconduct. Habitual or gross negligence. If you are, I'll tell you in further slides, if you are doing something deliberately and you are habitual of that, then it is a misconduct. Disobedience of legitimate order. Suppose your bosses or government gives you whatever order are given to you, you don't follow that, you disobey that, it is a misconduct. Unsatisfactory work and discharge of one's duties. If your boss is not satisfied, government is not satisfied, it is misconduct. Negligence in work which causes serious consequences. Here negligence comes in, I think, where without knowing also, suppose some great effect is your decision is going to affect some part which is very important project or something. Negligence in that is also a misconduct. Unlawful or improper behavior. As I told you, it is a personality development program. Also, we learn as a common citizen. Also, we should do that. We should behave properly. Otherwise, it is misconduct. Forbidden act or character which we are not supposed to do, we should not do. Transgression of established and definite rule of action or code. If we put our own ideas in the rule, according to me, according to as I think or I think so, government में ये नहीं चलता है. Whatever the rules are there, you have to follow strictly to that only. Oblige or unduly favor one of the parties or employees. Any obligation, that's what I tell you. You accept something and you are bound to do the wrong things. So don't accept any gifts or anything. So don't get obliged. So there is no question arises of unduly favors. Otherwise you have to do it. And then it comes under misconduct. Actions affect the reputation or integrity or good faith or devotion to duty. Corrupt motive. You should not be corrupt at all. Disproportionate assets. This comes only after corruption. So to prevent corruption, Prevention of Corruption Act 1988 is applicable to under CCS rules. The act involving illegal gratification by public servant for himself or any other person as a reward in discharge of official duties. सुभाष चंद्र बोस ने एक नारा दिया था, तुम मुझे खून दो मैं तुम्हें आज़ादी दूंगा। वही है, आप मेरा ये काम कर दो मैं आपका ये काम कर दूंगा, ऐसा नहीं होता है। सो दिस इज डोंट इन्वॉल्व इन सच प्रैक्टिसेस। Act involving illegal gratification for including another public servant through personal influence to do a favor. Even suppose you influence some other public servant also, government servant also, to do a work which is in your favor, this is also illegal. Habitual acceptance of gratification by a public servant other than the legal remuneration. Whatever is legal right, that is there. Suppose you go somewhere on tour, your allowances are there. Whatever you have, it is there. But if you are, suppose you go somewhere and every time people give you a lot of gifts or valuable gifts, it means they require something from you. So don't do that, because that comes to the dishonesty and it is a criminal misconduct. If he is habitually accepts or agree to accept or attempts to obtain from any person for himself or other person, it is not only that you accept, even your family member accepts or even your close relative accepts on behalf of you, that is also a misconduct. So gratification means you are getting it, please don't do it. Valuable things without consideration or for lesser consideration. Sometimes you take very precious things but you show the value less. No. Showing the less value makes you that you are doing the corruption. Misappropriation public money. Don't misuse the public money. For what purpose it has been given, same purpose way it should be used. Abuse his position for valuable thing or pecuniary gain, for small gains, for your own vested interest, for your this one. If you misuse your position, do the misuse of your post, this is a corruption. Disproportionate asset, certainly this is a corruption. You are earning 1 lakh rupees per year, per month, and you purchase a property of 50 crores in 1 year, it is disproportionate. So anything, it comes under this one. So it is not only कि suppose you do it, once you do it, there is a procedure. Suppose you are caught, anti-corruption bureau is there, other agencies are there, people complain against you, you are caught. So what will happen if you are found guilty? That not less than 1 year, minimum 1 year to maximum 7 years, you can be sent for imprisonment. And that is a criminal procedures. If you go under section 10, it should be read section 10, read with section 13. If you go with that, and a penalty also can be imposed on you. But the moment you are jailed, you lose your job, you lose all your pensionary benefits. So don't think it is very simple and just okay, let us do that. So don't do, please, again, don't involve yourself in any type of corruption. It is a just general view. Out of 167 nations, we stand 76 as per the Transparency International Index 2016. I don't know what is the literally today's position. If we go ahead as per this one, we will see as per CPI. Now, sometimes there is a thin line between conduct and misconduct. And some points which are included in misconduct, in some other way, it cannot be a misconduct. There may be a possibility, but this is very less probability, but mostly very clearly they have told to make you don't get afraid of this. Why this has been told that don't do this, but don't be afraid always. If you are under that pressure, afraid, so you cannot work out also. So what is there which is not a misconduct? Error of judgment. Some project is given to you, you have done some work, and ultimately after some this one implementation and think, okay, here something was wrong, we should have shown. The error of judgment is not a misconduct, because that is unknowingly you have done it. Because you thought this is okay, as per your professional competency, which point came, you went ahead, but after some time you felt, okay, this part is not proper, I should have changed this. So it doesn't fall under misconduct. Wrong interpretation of law for not attribute to any motive. See, laws, always you have seen rules are there, but they are interpreted differently by different persons. Maybe as per their convenience or maybe as per the need of the hour. So wrong interpretation by mistake if it occurs, so it is not a misconduct. Innocent mistake, same, unknowingly mistakes you do, ऐसे single act of omission कि by the way कुछ miss हो गया, it is not a misconduct. Lack of efficiency. Now here, because efficiency, it is a variable in each person. Everybody is not same degree efficient. Suppose I can in 8 hours I can work 4 hours, but I will produce something more. Somebody will work 1 hour and he will produce more than me. So lack of efficiency is not a misconduct. Failure to attain high standard of performance. Simple. Every time you cannot achieve a maximum percentage of the success. Responsibility of a supervisor. I think whenever we call it as supervisor means boss. So under rule 321 it has been ensured that ensure integrity and devotion to duty. First you become integrate, you do your devotion to duty, then only you can make your staff to move on that path. So whatever staff is under your control, if you are ruling them or if you are a boss of them, just always have the integrity and devotion to duty. Please try to inculcate in every employee. Non-performance. Any government servant failing habitually to perform the task assigned to him within the time and with the quality of performance. See, one or twice it is okay. You do it, it will not be misconduct. But suppose every time there is a delay, you are very lazy, you don't do it, or do it after as per your wish. ठीक है, suppose this is 2 hours job and every time you take 5 hours, 7 hours, and quality also reduces. So this is a non-performance and it will always be reflected in your APAR. Lack of, so it is deemed to be lack of devotion, means you are not dedicated to the work. You are giving secondary importance to it. So rule 3 explanation says very clearly every government servant should be dedicated to the duties. While discharging duties, act in his best judgment except. Suppose some circumstances are there are always exceptions are there for the rule. So, but discharging your duties, always do your best judgment. When he is acting under the direction of his official supervisor. Rule 322 में the thing has been said कि if you want to go ahead with something, discussions happened and then your boss said no, you go ahead with this. So you can change your judgment, and there if something goes far, you will not be at fault. When power is delegated to a subordinate, he need not seek instruction of superior to evade his responsibility. This is very important. That's what I had told you. The sense of responsibility. It is common expectation from any government servant. You have given general task, it is okay. But once you are giving particular task, that's what I tell you, additional charges or something with a power delegation, then you cannot blame anybody. You yourself is responsible for all the things. So you cannot put blame on the superior. कि था, I did it, मैंने तो साइन किए, ऊपर वाले को देखना चाहिए. No, there you yourself is responsible. That is under rule 3. Communication guideline. So how communication between two officers or between two departments should be there, that also very clearly written. Avoid oral instruction to subordinate. होता यही है, normally we give oral instruction and they are followed. But problem comes when some legal matter comes or this one, then he may tell lie, मुझे तो आपने कहा ही नहीं. What you will say? So normally whenever some important matters are there, give instructions or directions in writing. The directions of supervisor shall be in writing. Where oral direction is unavoidable, the superior should confirm soon it in writing. See, rule says, rule 323, what says? Even if you have given oral instruction, but after that your written instruction should be followed. So tomorrow this should not happen that you give an only oral and forget about the written. It should be. Again, जब तक सब ठीक चलता है, but suppose some matter comes and then legality comes and complication comes and it becomes the judicial matter, then everything will be even from, it will be asked, and there your subordinate can go very clear, मेरे पास तो instruction ही नहीं है. So you have to give in writing. Subordinates who received oral instruction should seek confirmation in writing. Even subordinate has right. They can tell their bosses, please give me instruction in writing under rule 324. So these are the things. Promptness and courtesy. what comes now? Promptness and courtesy. How prompt you should be, and you should be very courteous. Same. It is again ethical and moral lessons which are being taught right from childhood. We should be very courteous and very should be very polite. Don't adopt dilatory, lazy, negligent tactics in disposal. Whatever the duty has been given to you, whatever work has been given to you, don't become lazy and don't become negligent on that. Okay, चलो अगले हफ्ते कर देंगे, चलता है. No. Deliberate delays always avoid under Rule 3A because it is a misconduct. Observance of government policies. There are some policies government has decided कि you have to observe these. What are the points? Age of marriage, conditions of marriage, preservation of environment, protection of wildlife, protect cultural heritage, prevent crime against women. Rule 3A, A and B. These are the some provisions. You should observe the government policies, government rules on this. You should never violate this. This is very important and it is very generally it happens. So many complaints in so many offices are there. So prohibition of sexual harassment against working women. Don't indulge in any act of sexual harassment at workplace. Your workplace is your workplace. Even if because today is time when ladies and gents they are work together, so don't do any act which comes under sexual harassment. The in charge of workplace should prevent such harassment. Means it is the duty of an in charge to see that atmosphere is very good and no female member should feel unsafe in that. This is under Rule 3C 1 and 2. What is definition of sexual harassment? Physical contact and advances, demand or request for sexual favors, sexually colored remarks, showing any pornography, any other unwelcome physical, verbal, non-verbal conduct of a sexual nature under Rule 3.2 comes under sexual harassment. Means it is not that only you try to physically do something, then only it is there. Even if you pass some remark, lavish remark, this is also not acceptable in government. So maintain the dignity and decorum of the office. But still, we see that a lot of incidents happen. Then there is a procedure has been set up. What should be the mechanism for that? The employer should take appropriate steps to prevent sexual harassment. Matlab, it is not as rules as always says. Ki suppose there are two officers in a room, so it should not be a single gents and single ladies cannot sit in one room. So it is always either in a hall or in a where 4 or 5 persons can sit. There they can be accommodated, not single and single. Notify and exhibit and circulate the definition of sexual harassment. Means generally it is the duty of administration. Basically we are government servant, not हमारा ड्यूटी नहीं है, बट अगर हमारे पास एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है तो वी शुड सर्कुलेट द लेटेस्ट गाइडलाइंस, लेटेस्ट रूल्स ऑफ गवर्नमेंट regarding sexual harassment, provide appropriate penalties, provide appropriate work conditions, leisure, health and hygiene, ensure no hostile environment to women employees. That's what I tell you, very important, they should not feel unsafe and very courteous and polite atmosphere should be there, that no women employee has reasonable grounds to believe that she is in disadvantage. Then under same mechanism, what is happens, suppose it happens, so what happens? A very clear thing, the moment complaint comes, you have to form a committee. So complaint committee should be headed by a woman of higher rank than the perpetrator. बस कंप्लेनेंट से हायर रैंक का ऑफिसर होना चाहिए एंड इट शुड बी ए वुमेन ऑफिसर ओनली. द चेयरपर्सन ऑफ ए वुमेन कमेटी, नॉर्मली एवरी ऑफिस हैज दैट कमेटी, सो उस पर द चेयरमैन विल बी वुमेन, half of the members shall be women. Again, it is not only ki suppose 5 members committee and you have only 1 member. No. So half members means more than half it should be there. So suppose 5 members are there. Normally committee members are always in the odd numbers. So suppose 5 is there. So always there should be 3. Appointment of a special counselor or other support. Now it may happen ki suppose you are given the charge of the women's cell. I also don't know much rules about that. So what I will do, I will have some counselor or some expert in that as a support service. To avoid pressure from top, complaint committee should involve third party. And if you want that same office and same thing and you feel you will be pressured, so best way is to give the inquiry to make a departmental committee and recommend that another third party should investigate in that and they should do it. Confidentiality in proceedings, yes, that is very important part in anywhere, in our system also. IPC also, if any women crime occurs, there should be confidentiality, name, address, everything. Mechanisms for preventing sexual harassment, mandatory steps. What steps you have to take? As far as practicable, inquiry should complete within 1 month. Time limit is there. You cannot prolong it indefinitely. 4 महीने चल रहा है, 5 महीने चल रहा है. Ensure women not victimized for their complaint. This also to be ensured that suppose somebody has complained, so they should not be victimized or terrorized or you threaten them. No. In case of victimization, she can complain directly to ministry. So complainant has asked right directly. They can complain if they found that they have been threatened or they have been pressurized. She should not posted under the respondent or any persons who believe to be acted. Suppose till that decision comes, immediately her transfer should be there. All ministries, HOD should submit monthly report. Naturally, as far other reports go, same way the women committee report, also monthly report goes to the ministry and they forward it to women and child development. Then there is in some cases, suppose incidences of severe nature and some hurtings are there, or she is not able to come to office due to that. So there is a leave provision also given for this. On inquiry of a sexual harassment, agreed female member will get maximum 90 days leave. Suppose it is required, some case has occurred and she cannot come to office, so 90 days leave can be sanctioned to him. It is not mandatory that you have to give every time. Whatever the leave required, maximum up to 90 days. Recommendation of local committee or internal committee is required. It is a special leave and not to be debited to leave account. This is a special leave and cannot be debited to any kind of earned leave or medical leave. No, this will be added to that. No, this is a different. Employment of near relatives. No influence for getting employment to any of all. See, these are all misconduct points, whatever I listed you in the misconduct list. You should not influence anybody of your family or your friend, of your one child for getting employment. Suppose you are in some position and you want your employment of your son or daughter in some other good company where you have contact or you have official dealing, you cannot influence that. So though nobody will discharge his official duties, deal with any manner with a company if any family members employed interested in the firm. Suppose family member is employed somewhere. So under rule 4 very clearly, as far as possible you should avoid. And family as per rule 4, whatever has been given is spouse, children, parents, brother, sister, person related to any of them by blood or marriage. Whatever comes under family definition, everything applies to them. Involvement in political activities, don'ts and do's. A very general rule is no government servant should involve in a political activities. Means you should not be a member of any political party. You cannot join officially. Don't assist any party. Means don't attach yourself with any party and you take part in that activities and all this. No. Even after office hours. No. Displaying electoral symbol on vehicles. आपकी गाड़ी के ऊपर किसी पार्टी का चिन्ह लगा लें, नहीं. Organizing election meeting for ministers. Suppose ministers are there and they come to your visit and there they say कि, okay, you arrange one meeting, I want to meet some local कार्यकर्ता. No, nothing like that. Participate in meeting and rallies. Officially, you cannot participate in any rally also. Again यहाँ चलता है, हो जाता है, आप जाते हो, कोई पूछता नहीं है, बात अलग है. बट अगर फोटोग्राफ आ गया, वीडियो आ गया और आप पकड़ लिए गए तो आपकी नौकरी भी जा सकती है. और पॉलिटिकल एक्टिविटीज इन्वॉल्वमेंट मतलब हर एक में जीरो नहीं है. डायरेक्टली अटैचिंग टू द पॉलिटिकल पार्टी इज प्रोहिबिटेड, बट योर पॉलिटिकल राइट्स आर प्रिजर्व्ड. सो यू कैन वोट, you can perform election duties. Rather, your duties are always there put. Government servant is always put on the election duties maximum. Normal arrangement for ministers in their election tour. See, there's difference. Suppose minister comes and he says that he wants to address local workers or party workers. This you should not do it. But once he comes and he is on tour to different places, official, then you have to make arrangement for that. So as far as possible, keep political neutrality. Joining associations, same as politics you cannot join, so associations also you cannot join. Your official associations as officer association, or if a lower staff is there, then unions you can join. But no political association or unions you can join. which are prejudicial to the interest of government, public order, morality. All three factors. Suppose any association is working against this one, government, you cannot join that. Public order also, or even morality. Suppose you feel yourself that this is not working good for government, so why we should be associated with this. Under Rule 6, very clearly written, please don't join. Demonstration and strike. Don't participate in any demonstration and strike. You cannot. So no participation in any form of strike, coercion. Coercion means suppose there is some injustice on you there and you want to put pressure on the management or ministry and you make group of some people and just put pressure technique demonstration. No, you cannot do that. Any demonstration you cannot do, dharna you cannot give. Of course, there is a provisions for that. Ki in case of injustice, how you have to proceed for strike and all this one. There is a rule given for that. Accordingly, you can go. But directly, आज मेरा मन हो गया, ये मेरे साथ ठीक नहीं हुआ, मेरे बॉस ने डांट दिया, I will do demonstration. No. So you cannot do that. And the interest of the country, so security, foreign countries, public decency, morality, contempt of court, defamation, everything you should take care of very seriously. What is strike? बहुत से लोगों का होता है स्ट्राइक, हमने कॉल किया, बंद कॉल कर दिया, भारत बंद कॉल कर दिया, खत्म बात, अब हमसे खत्म बात, हम उसमें ही से नहीं ले सकते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है. Even if you don't do work during that time. See, nowadays circular comes, you see, whenever Bharat Bandh or something is there or state Bandh is there, attendance circular, every HOD has to inform his head of office that how many people have not come to office. Indirectly, that may be linked to that you have attended that Bandh. So don't, refusal of work will not be there. You have to come to the work and you have to do the work. Stoppage of work. Suppose you don't do the work, that is also a strike. So tomorrow you can say, मेरा mood नहीं है, मैं काम नहीं करूँगा. It may be taken as a strike. Slowing down of work. Deliberates, you slow down. Mass abstention from work. You take mass leave. Mass leave you cannot take actually. Immediately it becomes a misconduct and action will be initiated on that. Refusal to do overtime. Suppose there is a circumstances are there when you are supposed to do more time rather than your official hours, you are supposed to do it. Gherao, bandh, any activity which result in the cessation or substantial retardation of any work. Absence from work, from participation of bandh or any other similar movements under Rule 7, you cannot do that. Any government servant should not participate in any form of a strike, whatever I have told you. Demonstration means holding meeting. Demonstration without permission within the office premises is violation of the conduct rule GID 4 under Rule 7. Same thing I told you. Okay, there is a way. There is injustice on you. You want to do demonstration. You want to go on a strike. So for that you have to take permission from office. Within office premises you have to take permission. This is happening and on this moment I want to do half an hour this one or during lunchtime pradarshan, demonstration. That will be permitted, but once it is not permitted, you cannot do it. Another time, lot of time comes when we people are come to situation where we meet press, media, publication department. So without permission, we should not meet. Whenever such proposal comes, always we should write to our HODs that such things I am invited, whether I can join. If you are permitted, then only you go. On wholly or in any part in press media, editing magazine, any part publication books, even editing of the books or paper or publication also you cannot do without permission of the government. This is under Rule 8 very clearly, and if you are found guilty, action will be taken against you as under misconduct. Criticism of government. No government servant should criticize the government. This is very common law because I am government servant, I am following and we sign an undertaking that we are all abide by the rules of government. So at the same time, if we start criticizing that, so it becomes contradictory and it comes under misconduct. So no criticizing, don't criticize the policy of government, either it is central or state through print media, electric media, radio, public utterance, anywhere. It is not, you are under Rule 9. This is strictly prohibited. Giving evidence under Rule 10, 1 and 2. Without permission, not give evidence in connection with inquiry conducted by any person's committee authority. Suppose you saw something, you are called by police or you are called by something to give witness, you have to take permission from office. Or even in, suppose you want to give some presentation to the commission, even for giving presentation to your pay commissions, we require permission from our office. If permission is granted, he should not criticize the policies. And once, suppose while giving evidences, a situation comes where criticization of government is coming, you should not be a part of that, because the basic duty is any government servant cannot criticize the government policies. And then giving evidence without permission under Rule 10.3 is strictly prohibited before inquiry authority appointed by government, parliament or assembly. Because being in a different position, working in different fields, sometimes you may be called by a parliament to give the witness, you may be called in assembly or by government. So don't give evidence without prior permission before any judicial inquiry. Suppose some judicial inquiry is there and you are somehow you are involved in that, so there you need to go to give evidence. You are not supposed to till you get permission. Departmental inquiry also same way. Witnesses have to take permission from the, suppose departmental inquiry being set up again in your department only against somebody and you are a witness. So directly, even if committee calls, you have to take a permission by your HR, head of division or something. Then only you can go. And before pay commission, as I told you, even for pay commission representations, suppose you want to submit something or you want to put your side, you have to take permission under Rule 10.3. Breaches of privilege and contempt of parliamentary witness. If you do all this misconduct, so it comes under breach of privilege and contempt of a parliament. Wherever you are there, for eyewitnesses you are called. So when breach comes, refusal to answer the questions. Suppose you go and you present yourself in parliament or assembly or in some commission and you refuse to answer. They ask you question, don't refuse. So this is a breach of privilege and contempt. So immediately you will be charged and action may be taken against you. Pre-verification or willfully suppressing the truth. You know the truth, but you are not telling. You are hiding the things. You are not supposed to do that. Using sassy languages. मतलब घुमा फिरा के इधर उधर. No. Pinpoint answer should be there for the pinpoint questions. Returning insulting answers or board is there. Even personal grudge you cannot put. Suppose you are grilled, basically sometimes the officers are grilled in some inquiry, so they cannot have a grudge and they can talk in any way. So don't give the insulting answers. Destroying or damaging a material document relating to inquiry. Under Rule 10, this is very clear कि either you destroy or you try to damage a document. You try to tamper with a document. This is a crime. And then again the criminal charges can be on you and you can be charged. Friends, this was some points. In further lecture, I will cover other points also which I had enlisted in my misconduct list. So if you salute our great, President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam had said, if you salute your duty, you no need to salute anybody. So do your duty sincerely. कोई चमचेगिरी की जरूरत नहीं है, साइकोफेंसी की जरूरत नहीं है. But if you do something here and there, some corrupt practices, some misconduct, so naturally आपको पैर पड़ने पड़ेंगे. So you have to salute everybody. So don't do this. Work fearlessly, corruption free, and give your full best to the government. Whatever the duties have been given to you, please always behave in responsible way. That is the request. Thank you for your patience listening. I think this will be of very much use to you. You will see sometimes lot of things we do unknowingly. We don't know the things, but once you know this one, everybody, government servant should know this, and that's the, I think, aim of the National Water Academy, to give the training that even administrative rules regulation you should know. So because one thing I'll tell you, very important, ignorance of law is not an excuse. Suppose you are caught somewhere and then you tell, I don't know, it cannot be. You are immediately charged and punishment will be there. So please avoid. As I told you, the 5 fundamentals: integrity, honesty, dedication, and competence of your profession. Please do the government survey. Thank you.